from around the world, welcome to the Insurance Guys Podcast. My name is Scott Howell, your fearless host and leader, insurance agency owner and insurance evangelist for I Protect Insurance and Financial Services, based out of Huntsville, Alabama. And before we get started on today's episode, please help me welcome. He is a 6'3" sophomore from Mobile, Alabama. Parade first team All-American, Rivals 5-star recruit. He is a fantastic insurance agent and a great American. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together and welcome the incomparable Mr. Bradley Flowers. How are you, Bradley?
I'm good. How are you?
Well, Bradley, it has been an interesting 24 hours. I'm not sure where to start, so I'm just going to start with a start, and then we're going to bring our all-star guest on today. Saturday, I knew I would be coming to Mobile yesterday. Now, folks, that's about a 5.5, 6 hour drive from the tip top of the state of Alabama to the very bottom of the state of Alabama. So Scott, being the proactive automobile owner that I am, I went by my local express oil change in Arab, Alabama, and I said, hey, going to Mobile tomorrow, long drive, 6 hours, need you to change the oil, rotate and balance my tires. I want to make sure I get down there.
Is this in the minivan?
This is in the 2017 Chrysler Pacifica minivan. My monthly payment on that is $179 a month. It's got 124,536 miles on it. I just looked at it when I walked outside. Here comes the rest of the story. So get everything changed. I feel good about driving 6 hours in it. Yesterday at 2 o'clock, I get on the interstate, start heading I-65 south, or as I like to call it, the death trap. You die on I-65 in a hurry. And I get to the Coleman exit, 36 miles from my house. Check engine light comes on. It starts missing. I think to myself, well, I gassed up yesterday. Again, proactive. Didn't want to have to get gas on the way down. Maybe the gas had some water in it. I'll drive it a little further. Finally, I get down to the Gardendale exit. Check engine lights yelling at me about every 15 seconds. Bling! Bling! I pull off to an AutoZone. A girl is the only girl working there who's about 17 and knows about as much about automobiles as I do about being a Mexican astronaut. Come on in with that, Bradley. I'm going to interrupt my story here. If you're watching this on YouTube, go follow us on YouTube. You can watch. I have a present that I have delivered in my busted ass 2017 Chrysler Pacifica that took me 12 and a half hours to get here. This present is for Mr. Luke Flowers. And I'm going to read the tag that goes on this present. The tag says, Luke, where them bears? Question mark. Love, Uncle Scott and Aunt Kim.
Okay.
Now, I'm going to go ahead and tell you what's in here. It's a gun. Before you get mad,
I'm not going to get mad.
two things. One of the things I did Saturday, besides getting my oil change and gassed up and my tires rotated, I was going to go buy Luke a lever action 22 rifle.
Okay. Sounds like a good gift.
I texted Bradley as I'm at Larry's Pistol and Pawn. Bradley, how old is Luke?
4.
We put the lever action back. So I know. So there's going to be people on this that are going to watch this show, and they're going to say, oh, my God, Scott, you can't buy Luke a lever action 22 rifle. I understand that. this gun is more age appropriate. Now, let me also say this.
Can I guess what it is?
It's a gun.
Can I guess?
No.
Okay.
You can see it tonight when he opens it.
Okay.
Now, I understand that Luke is 4, so I'm going to put on my calendar and I'm going to buy Cal the same gun when he turns 4.
Okay.
Now, I have no idea when Luke's birthday is, so we're just going to call this a Columbus Day
It was
gift.
like a month ago.
Okay.
Yeah. So you're good. You just
So I'm going to put this over here, but
All right,
we'll take it home tonight. Now, I will say this about the gun. People are going to say, my God, Scott, you're going to buy a 4-year-old a lever action 22. I will say the appropriate age depends on the kid as far as when you get them their first lever action 22 rifle. And then we move up when they're a little older, a couple years to the 410 lever action. I believe the appropriate age for Luke is probably around 12. I have seen 10-year-olds and 8-year-olds that grew up on farms that were out in a pasture hunting quail and dove with a 22 rifle, and I have seen. I got 35, 40-year-old friends that don't need a gun.
Yeah.
So a lot of that just depends on someone's maturity. Rand, what age were you first time you shot a gun? Rand doesn't know. He ain't never shot no gun. Anyway, I got to get back to my story.
Thank you, Scott. I'm sure Luke will appreciate it.
Luke will.
Is it a Red Ryder BB gun? Okay.
It's age appropriate.
Okay.
When you said 4,
AR-15.
well, I told you in the message. I said when I got an AR-15 for sale right now. Anyway, that's another story. What was I saying? Oh yeah. When I texted you and you said he was 4, I told you, and I said, well, we're gonna go put that back.
Yeah.
We're not ready for that yet. So I'm driving down and I pull off. Now this girl at the AutoZone, she knows about as much about cars as I do about being a Mexican astronaut. And so we're both just fiddling around in the engine. I'm taking it. I thought, well, anyway, I put one of those little bottles. It's the upper cylinder. Okay. That's what's going on with my car. Something's with the upper cylinder. We think it's the spark plugs because at about 125,000 miles, you need to change your spark plugs. I putted into town last night at 10 o'clock. You can't stop me, guys. You were looking at a guy that was 14 days off from having a complete titanium hip put in my left hip and rode a Delta Airlines flight to Round Rock, Texas to teach a shitty little 30-minute class for Hawksoft.
In a wheelchair.
You think a damn upper cylinder on a 2017 Pacifica is going to keep me from getting to Mobile, Alabama to help you agents any way I can? Hell no.
There you go.
So I puttered into town last night, get to my hotel, walk in, look around. My hotel is being completely renovated. I have pictures. Which pictures would show up on YouTube? Because I want people to see what I'm talking about here.
We can send them to Rand.
Here's Scott with a Skyjack this morning. There's Scott with a Skyjack. All of the interior plumbing. There's the EFS walls on the outside that are now being all ripped off. Here, it gets better. It gets better. All of the plumbing is being redone. Ladies and gentlemen, would anybody that's listening to this at the sound of my voice care to know who is completely renovating the Hilton Garden Inn in downtown Mobile, Alabama? It is your favorite insurance carrier, because I spoke to the maintenance guy this morning. He said, we've been in a 3-year lawsuit with a contractor that built this. He put all Chinese parts in this Hilton Garden Inn. We sued the shit out of him. And his insurance is paying for this entire hotel to be redone. So, ladies and gentlemen, once again, the insurance industry bails us out again.
What carrier?
Didn't ask. I didn't figure the maintenance man got that deep into it. So here we go. I'm staying in might as well be a hostel in damn Denmark.
You still made it here.
Still made it here. I pull into the Portal Insurance parking lot. And as I'm pulling in, there's a girl out here in the corner down on the ground, and she's painting these little like something Kim would do, like these little art pieces. And I look at her, and she looks up at me, and I think, do I want to park my damn car? If the wind starts blowing, everybody over here in this parking lot's going to have urethane all over their car. And I'm looking at her, and she's looking at me, and I take the turn. You know, your light poles have concrete stanchions. Okay. I hit that.
Oh, no.
I wrecked my car in your parking lot this morning.
Oh, no.
I get out of the car.
I did not know that, ladies and gentlemen.
I get out of the car, and next to her, while she's spraying all the cars in the parking lot with polyurethane, which I'll let y'all deal with that shit in a little while.
Thinking, where am I parked at?
If you want to get up and go look, you can go see it right now. There's this old boy, and he's got the hood up on, I think, one of your employees' cars. And I walked over. I said, "What's your name?" He said, "My name's Gio." I said, "Gio, you a mobile auto repair service?" He said, "I am. I'm replacing the water pump on this Nissan Maxima right now." And I said, "Gio, today is your lucky day.
I need some spark plugs.
I got an upper cylinder that's screwed up on my car. Let's go look at it." He walks over. I didn't even mention the fact I just wrecked my car 13 seconds before this. So now my car's wrecked. I got my half my engine laying out there in the parking lot right now. And I might as well be staying at a tent down here on the damn coast of Mobile somewhere. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how my last 24 hours has been. And if any word that just came out of my mouth is not true, I'll kiss your ass and give you 30 minutes to draw a crowd.
I was friends with a lady one time that was a gambler. And she used to say, "Honey, if your cards are bad early, they're going to be good later. So your cards are going to be good later today."
Well, hey, I tell you what, they are good. You know why?
Why?
I got one of my favorite people in the world on this podcast.
Yeah. Before we do that, though.
Okay.
Before we do that, it's going to be real quick, Carey, I promise. I'd like to play a game.
Oh, shit. Okay.
And the game is called Is It True?
Which insurance carrier is paying to have the Hilton Garden Inn in downtown Mobile completely renovated?
The game is called You Are the Contestant. And the game is called Is It True?
I love games.
Okay. And I've let me just get into it. Okay. Is it true that you once went to auctioneer school?
That is 1,000,000,000% true.
Okay.
President of my auctioneer school class of 35 people.
Okay. Is it true that you went to college at Auburn University?
No, that is false. My college don't exist no more. It's called Birmingham Southern College, the Harvard of the South.
Okay. Third thing. Is it true that recently at a very, 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 very nice restaurant at the Greenwich Group that you pulled your pants down and mooned a group of men who then followed with applause?
That is 1,000,000,000% true.
Did you know that I knew that?
No.
I've been holding on to it. And
who told you that?
I'll tell you in a second. Is it also true that this was not a little peep, quick mooning? This was pants down to the ankles.
1,000%. And nearly showed my moose. But that would have been to the front table. They were looking at the ass on the back end, but the moose would have been to the table on the other side.
I'm sorry, Carey. So I get a text. I don't know if you know this. Wherever you go and it's insurance related, I get reports.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I have a group of handlers out there. You're.
And by the way, while he's looking this text up, folks, this was not Scott just being an asshole and getting up in the middle of a 5-star restaurant and mooning everybody. Okay. These people at this table were throwing food at me.
Oh, okay. Did you know them?
Yeah. Okay. It was a group of about 30, 40 people.
So that's good context.
But we're all in these round tables, and there's like 6 of us. And during dinner, they kept like baiting me, like they would throw an olive and hit my salad or hit me in the head with a
So you're
olive.
just getting them back.
And they were giggling, and I just sat there, and everybody at my table just kept looking at me like,
What is he gonna do?
"You gonna take this?" And I'm like, kept eating. We got towards the dessert, me and you boys and girls, and they got some dessert. I stood up, and I flopped my big ass. My pants is down almost to my knees, and laid my ass up on top of their table
So
in a 5-star restaurant.
I get a text on Wednesday, September the 17th at 8:39 p.m. from Matthew Namoli. Howell just pulled his pants down and mooned a group of grown men who then proceeded to clap.
It was their fault, not mine.
Yeah. Anyway.
Hey, that same conference the next morning, Carey, I love this. I walk up at breakfast to Chris Paradise, so y'all know how patriotic he is. And I go, Chris, you're so damn patriotic. Why aren't we eating bald eagle for breakfast? Ladies and gentlemen, one of my favorite people in the world. I know she's upset because Scott's in his midlife crisis, and when Gio comes in here and tells me my engine has to be replaced, I'm going to go buy a brand new 2026 Lamborghini for the low price of $200. Now I won't be able to fit in that son of a bitch, but I'll tell you what, I may look like a sardine, Carey, but you're gonna have to rework our financials because I'm gonna wrap it. I protect. It's only gonna cost $263,000. Say it fast and it doesn't sound like much. Ladies and gentlemen, one of my favorite people in the world, and I am so blessed and humbled to have her on the call today on the show, Miss Carey Wallace. How are you, Carey?
I'm probably a little better than you, Scott. That's what I'm gonna go with.
It's been a rough 24 hours, Carey.
Man, oh man, that is something. But you know, Scott, there's a bright side here. You had a mechanic in the parking lot when you arrived. Like this,
blessed beyond belief.
Look at God.
Yeah,
Blessed beyond belief.
yeah.
Right place,
I
right
thought the way this guy starts pointing at cars, he goes, I got to replace the head gasket on that one. I got to do this to that one. And I think he was talking about half your employees because he said that they worked in here. Do you know this guy?
No.
He's probably stole my car and he's in like Fairhope right now.
It may be
because I gave him my
somebody
keys.
from the property manager.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe. I
I
don't know. I don't know anybody's having vehicle troubles, but
Hey,
Carey?
Scott, what you don't know, I was actually in Chicago when that thing happened that Matt informed Bradley of, and I also received a text that said, "Well, I would have loved to have seen you. I'm really glad you were not here to witness."
We did have one female in the audience or at one of the tables. Now she was not at that table, or I probably still would have done it, but it was Kelly Donahue
Yeah.
was there for that. But she was at another, like 2 tables over that way, so I don't know if she saw it or not. But I apologize for not repping the brand the way I should. But man, people, that's a
rowdy crowd. That's a rowdy
you
crowd.
want to just keep on and keep on and keep on, and
yeah.
you're gonna get
I'm
it.
glad you added the important context for sure. I assumed there was some give and take here. I didn't assume you just randomly, that sort of thing. I remember the time we were at my favorite restaurant in Boston, whose name is completely
Was I there?
leaving. Yes, yeah. This is a
is that Oyster House place?
The Oyster House, yeah, Union Oyster House.
So good.
My favorite restaurant in Boston. They
I
have
wish
the
we were
best
there
lobster
right
roll.
now.
And we're sitting there at the table, and you're at a different table than me. And I'm at a table with Hanley and a group of people, and Hanley's just yelling at our table the entire night. And we turn around, and Scott's gone, and you're outside hanging out with a homeless man.
I remember that now. Yeah.
And I remember you saying like, "Oh, this is Tom. This is Tom."
Yeah, I do remember that now.
Sweet,
I sure do.
Cool. Like,
yeah.
but anyway, Carey, what's going on in the world of insurance and financials and all that sort of stuff?
Yeah.
M&A. Let's do like a state of the union of everything that you're involved in.
She's on here today to talk about how shitty iProtect's financials are.
No, that is not why I'm on here today. I will tell
Brutal.
you, Bradley, it is a very busy marketplace today, is what I would say. There are a lot of people um, that are thinking, as the market's starting to shift and it's starting to soften in places, is this my high? Like, I think that's
Yeah.
on the minds of a lot of people.
Interest
Have I
rates are
hit
going
my high?
down because
Yeah.
we're at a crossroads right now, M&A wise, because interest rates are going down, but we're still seeing a little bit of that hard market. So premiums are high, interest rates are going down. So it's like if you're thinking about exiting, now might be the time.
Right. I think that that's on the minds of some. And then there's people that have been sitting on the sidelines for acquisitions because interest rates were high and they're saying, is this my opportunity to buy? So I feel like this last quarter of 2025 and the first quarter of 2026 are going to be incredibly busy for people like me.
Yeah.
Definitely, there's an uptick of people feeling like this might be the right time to make a move.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Carey, I had a question I wanted to ask you on here for all these agents, because the reason we do this podcast is to help agents any way we can. And this is kind of a two-part question, or a couple of questions I had for you. Number one, it feels to me, correct me if I'm wrong, in our last up cycle that we had, interest rates were at 3%. If you could fog a mirror these massive conglomerate type, VC backed in some cases, some not, but these big agencies were gobbling up small agencies, and it was like, okay, how much premium you got? Oh, I've got 15 million. Okay, great, we'll buy you. And since then, the lessons that have been learned in, I don't want to say mistakes that were made by making it so easy to sell your agency in our last wave. I think wave is probably the best way to put that. It feels like now they want to know if you picked your nose in kindergarten, they want your kindergarten teacher's phone number. They want your first child's blood type. They want to know everything about your agency, all the staff, everything. It just seems to me like now the lessons that were learned, where we're going to be a lot more due diligent heavy before we commit to buying an agency. Would you agree or disagree with that?
I would agree 100% that any buyer, as interest rates go up and money is not as cheap as it was, they're going to be far more careful if what they're buying and make sure that it's priced appropriately. But I would add an asterisk to what you just said. So when interest rates were low at 2.5, 3%, you know, you could command a multiple and be able to get that multiple even if there were some question marks in your agency, right? And then fast forward, now we're in the hard market where revenue, the top line's increasing because of rate, not necessarily because the agency is better. And you could potentially be losing policies where it's artificially inflated and interest rates went up. So for agencies that can't really be solid about, I'm growing organically and I'm super solid from a risk standpoint, they're not going to command the same multiples as agencies that can. So due diligence went up, and the multiple differential between well-run agencies and mediocre run agencies is now different. That gap got wider, Scott. So yes, everybody has more due diligence because the cost of money went up, but you no longer can think I can command what other agencies can if I can't justify it. So it became even more important to have solid financials, solid data, and really understand your financials, not just, send tax returns and hope for the best, which it like drives me nuts.
Well,
But yes.
and one thing that drives me absolutely up the wall, and we're seeing this a lot, where people will post in a Facebook group or in a forum and say one of two things. Either A, here's my agency's details. We've been in business 30 years and we're 200K in revenue. That was a joke. um, or or where this, whatever. What's it worth?
Yeah.
Or who do I get for an agency evaluation? It's one of those two questions, and the amount of people in there that are like 1.5 is standard or 2.5 is standard, and they are so sure of themselves.
Yeah.
It's like talk a little. And you and I have spoken about this, and I've talked about it with Namoli too. It's like you can't compare what your buddy got multiple wise to you. It's like comparing apples to oranges, because you might have an agency that is growing like a weed, but that's a little bit smaller, that's going to fetch a higher multiple than an agency of the same size. And then you bring EBITDA in there, like somebody might have an outrageously high EBITDA, but that garners a lower multiple, but it's okay because the EBITDA is higher. And then you may have one that the EBITDA is not as great, but it's going to get a little bit of a higher multiple because the buyer knows they can come in and clean a bunch of stuff up and create a arbitrage it. Basically, talk a little bit about that and why there's no, one size fits all. And even me, I mean, I've been guilty of it. Like I've done this enough. I can kind of look at an agency and put a multiple on it because that's what I would pay, but that's not necessarily what the market would pay.
Yeah. So I'm going to tell a story first, and then I'll talk about the factors that you should think about. And it's not the top line revenue isn't the only. It should be one of the factors, not even the main factor you should think about. But I happen to have lived in two places in the last 25 years. One is Columbus, Ohio, and the other is Hilton Head. And it would be absurd for me to come to either of you and say, hey, I've got a 3,800 square foot house. Can you tell me what my insurance rates are?
Yeah.
And that's all I tell you. It's 3,800 square feet.
That's a great analogy.
Here's think about that. And
Right.
if you did that to any insurance agent, they would want more context, right? I left out that I'm a 4-minute walk to the Atlantic Ocean, and I'm surrounded by lagoons, and I'm on an island in South Carolina. Do you want to change what you think my insurance is going to be? Or, never mind, I'm in the middle of Columbus, landlocked, in the most insurance, anyone who wants to practice insurance needs to be in Ohio, one of the least amount of places where you're going to have any kind of weather risk whatsoever. Those two things are night and day. Why in the world would I think $1 million agency that is sitting in the middle of Alabama is going to be worth the same as an agency that's sitting in the middle of Columbus? Let's just start with that. Right now, you're like, oh, wow. The rates are different, the carriers are different, what you're writing is different, the average policy is different, all of those things. Now, let me just change it and say they're both $1 million agencies, but one has an owner that's 78 years old and the only producer, and the other has 4 producers that are all between the ages of 30 and 50 and don't own more than 25 or don't represent more than 25% of that book, and they're all going to stay. Like, which one do you want? Just now with that amount of information, which one's more valuable?
Yeah.
Right? And forgot to tell you, the one that has one owner has one account that makes up 30% of the book. Do you still pay the same amount? Like, you have to go deeper than just revenue. The fact that they're the same revenue has absolutely nothing to do with the risk or the complexion or the transferability of that book of business. And one might be super profitable. The one that has one owner that is 70 some years old with, an account that's 40% of the book, it might be super profitable, but the risk and the transferability of that book is very, very different than the one, and it might not fit with you at all. That's the other thing. Every buyer is not right for every seller. So those agencies can be sold, but you have to find the right fit, and they are nowhere near the same value. Nowhere.
Well, and then too, you have people we're in one of the easiest industries to be successful in. I'm not saying it's an easy industry, but it's very easy to make a good living in this industry.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a friend that reached out to me a couple years ago, and he was like, hey, I've got a acquisition near you, and I wanted to get your thoughts on it. And I was like, okay, cool. and we're texting, and I said, what's the revenue? And he said, it's $280,000. Agency is 25 years old. So $280,000 in revenue, 25-year-old agency.
Wow.
Most of us would be like, man, this guy's crap in the bed, right? And so then I said, okay, what's the EBITDA? Have I told you this story? I said, what's the EBITDA? And he said, it's $230,000. And I'm like, no. It's not, that's not right. I was like, what's the, maybe that's like, maybe he's not doing his books right. And that's the what's the word I'm thinking of?
Gross revenue?
He's looking at the wrong line item.
Yeah, and he's like, no. He's like, this is one guy. He's ran this agency for 25 years. He's $280,000 in revenue. His only expenses are his office and his cell phone.
Oh my!
Did you buy it? And no, this somebody else was buying it.
Oh.
And I'm like, okay. From the outside looking in, this agency's failing, right? But this dude is crushing it. Like, you're making $230,000 and you have 2 expenses, or 3 if you count E&O insurance.
Probably had a great life.
You had in South Alabama, like, you are freaking killing it. Yeah. And he ended up not buying the deal. And I would argue that deals like that, where people are so tight on expenses, is not a good thing, because when he buys that agency, like, my friend is going to have more than a cell phone and all. You know what I'm saying? Like, so the actual EBITDA that's used for underwriting purposes was probably going to be lower.
Sure.
But that's always been an example I give when I talk to people about this stuff. It's like, hey, like, you can't judge every book just by its cover.
Yep.
You know, just like, you know, you see these people, I see people all the time, and this is not to shame anybody, but I see people in like Facebook groups that are like, we had our best month ever. We wrote $50,000 in premium. And I'm like, man, I would be wanting to poke my eyeballs out if we only did 50. You know what I'm saying? Like, just situate. And I'm sure there's people that look at our production and are like, man, that's terrible. You know what I'm saying? You can't look at everything exactly the same.
Hub is going to be so pissed when they see that Lamborghini on my balance sheet. Hey, Carey, 2 things I want to ask you about. Last week, I have this kid call me from, I don't remember. He called my cell phone, Oklahoma, Missouri, Kansas, somewhere up in that area. And he starts in, I answer my phone, and he just starts. Scott, I met you, I bought this agency. It was a $3 million book. I owner financed it. I got lots of questions. Got 1 part-time employee and myself. I wanted to talk about this, that, and the other, and this. And I thought to myself, well, the first freaking mistake that your dumbass made was not calling Carey Wallace and signing. And agents, I'm speaking to all of you out there right now, because there's going to be one of you dumbasses that's going to make this mistake. I don't care if you're buying that son of a bitch from your cousin Ricky, your Aunt Sally, especially mommy and daddy. I don't care if you're bank financing it, owner financing it, if you've won the Powerball lottery and you're about to buy an insurance agency. The very first thing that you need to do if you're going to buy an insurance agency, let's say that either you're a producer in an agency and somebody's retiring, or you're a plumber and you decide that, by golly, all these boys and girls I see in this industry making so much money, I want to get into that. I want to make a bunch of money, and I'm tired of crawling in crawl spaces and having to renovate the freaking Hilton Garden Inn that Travelers Insurance is paying for in downtown Mobile. Screw that. I want to go and get me an office job and work behind a computer every day. Great. Call Carey Wallace. Step 1, call Carey Wallace. There is no step 2. There is no but. There is no, well, you know, my cousin Steve's an attorney downtown Mobile. I'm just going to get him to look at the contract because he's smart. He went to Birmingham School of Law, and I think he can just call Carey Wallace. There is no that. So that's it. Call Carey Wallace, pay her whatever she charges you to help in the book valuation and to make sure that for the next 5 years, you're not overpaying for a book of business and eating ramen noodles and having to steal cable at the apartment complex because you can't afford damn cable, and driving a 1987 Chrysler Sebring because you overpaid. And now, because you overpaid, what can't you do, Bradley? You can't hire nobody because you ain't got no money to hire nobody. You can't live the lifestyle you want to live because homeboy Ricky, your cousin, who'd been in the industry for 30 years and built up a $5 or $6 million book of business, a nice little book, you're paying Ricky all the damn money. You think Ricky's going to work after he gets the big check?
Yeah.
So you're screwed.
Yeah. It's sad, Scott, how many internal or, friends think they're going to do this without any advice.
Oh my
And, people have in their minds what their agency's worth, and they can justify it by going on and seeing, well, the going rate's 2.5 times. So if I'm asking 2.5 times, I'm reasonable. They genuinely believe that they're reasonable. But if you haven't figured out what will cash flow with all the assumptions that you have, who's staying on, what do you need to hire, what consolidates and creates synergies, what doesn't, what additional expenses are you going to have to put into it, and if someone's not done the math for you and figured out what will truly cash flow and given you a gut check, it's unfortunate, but about 40% of internal deals get renegotiated for this exact reason. And it's not good. It's really not good.
Somebody posted in Insurance Soup last week, I'm looking at doing an acquisition. What are the top 5 questions that you would ask? And I responded and sent him about 132 questions.
Yeah, it's not 5 questions.
These are my questions.
Questions, yeah.
What did he say?
I don't know if the original poster said anything, but Josh.
I thought you were going to say he deleted the post.
Josh Bagby said, Bradley out here giving advice for free. He could charge $5,000 for.
Hey, Carey, Bradley, I want to tell y'all something. And then I got another, and then we're going to pull our pants down, Carey, for just a second. Not you, me.
We'll mute the camera.
Yeah.
Good.
We're gonna pull our britches down and show these agents something real quick.
Okay.
We have a friend in the industry, I'm not going to say who it is, who spoke to the Greenwich Group about what we're talking about today. The questions that you should be asking before you either sell your agency or buy your agency. And one of the very first, if not the very top question, numero uno, was culture fit. He sold his super big, highfalutin, got the big check. I haven't said his name, so I don't think I'm out of bounds by saying this. I got the feeling from that discussion, okay, he didn't just come right out and say this. If he had it to do over again, he wouldn't have sold his agency to who he sold his agency to, because ultimately it just wasn't a good culture fit. And I think based on some of the things he said, a lot of implosion occurred after everybody walked away.
Yeah.
Now, I haven't said who it was, and it could have been anybody because we know a lot of people.
Here's what I would say to that as a buyer. When you are thinking about selling your company, if there are operational decisions or any decisions that, I guess all decisions are operational decisions, but if there are operational decisions that you are putting on the back burner, and we all have decisions we are putting on the back burner, whether we know them or not.
Correct.
The buyer is going to have to make that decision. And it's always going to be worse than if you did it.
Not only that, if you put it off and let the buyer make the decision, guess who gets the benefit of that decision also?
Right.
You
Yeah.
know, they get the downside and the upside of making that decision. Scott, we do know a lot of people, but I will tell you that even if we're not talking about one individual, one of the biggest regrets in selling your business is not being able to really think about what it's like to work for someone else. What's the impact
Yeah.
to the people I care about the most, my team, my clients, my family, because it's really hard. Sometimes you sit in a room and negotiate a deal with one person, and then day two, you're working with a completely different set of people. And what shakes out may not be exactly what was said to you in the room with the first set of people. So, that is one of the biggest things you have to contemplate. And all the numbers on a sheet, that's just math. But
Yeah.
the cultural fit is what matters. And it's the thing that keeps people up at night. And it's
Mhm.
definitely one of the number one things that people look back and maybe think about differently. You get to do this once. So I would tell you, don't do it without advice, and don't do it without talking to people who have been through it, that have the beauty of that rear view mirror. Because
Right.
without that, it's super hard to do this alone. I really do.
Yeah.
And that's not self-serving. Like, talk to other agents that have done that.
Yeah.
So,
So
so I know a couple of people in this industry who are complete psychopaths, and I've often wondered if when they sell their agency, they intentionally don't go for culture fit. Because listen, hear me out. I know some people that are complete psychopaths in this industry who would love, love, love to look in the rearview mirror and be able to shrug their shoulders and go, well, if I was still there, that son of a bitch would be running like a top right now.
Yeah, they're like the Joker walking away from the hospital blowing up in Batman.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, and I don't know who you're talking about, so my comments were nothing about that individual, but it's just something you really have to think about. And I think most of us in that situation would rather take less money and have our people being taken care of rather than the opposite. But you're right. There are definitely some people that like, hey, give me that.
Give me that check.
There's one I think we're both thinking about right now.
100%.
That it's just like that I can blame everything on the new people,
Yep.
and it's this, that, and the other. But and speaking similar conversation here, there's some rumblings out there. And my question to you, Carey, is: are we going to see more of this? There's some rumblings out there of some bigger shops that are doing acquisitions that maybe have been on a tear of overpaying, and now that the chickens are coming home to roost a little bit, and they might be struggling. Do we expect to see more of that? And have you come across any of that?
If you're talking about big buyers, they're cyclical. It depends
Yeah.
on when their recap is coming. It depends on what their performance is. And it's interesting, every year they publish the top buyers. And you'll notice 2 years ago, when some of the top buyers weren't even on the top 20 list the next year. So
Yep.
I do think there will be more of this. I will say this. Um, when you're selling your agency, you want the least amount of disruption, typically for a really good reason. I don't want my people to have to go through pain. I want my customers to expect what they've always grown to love about us. But if you're selling and there's no change in your agency, thinking you can get top dollar is kind of crazy, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you have to reconcile those things. And if you're selling and you're taking stock in the person that is buying you, it's funny how you switch and you're like, now I want all the efficiencies because I want my stock to have a high value when I do my second exit. So you really got to think about from it both perspectives. Whether you're getting ready to sell, you got to think about it like, what would a buyer think about when they look at my agency? But then when you become the one that's now the stockholder, what do I want to do to maximize my value in this new entity? It's really kind of an evolution of thought, if you will. So same thing with buyers. I think some buyers have one strategy. They recap. The strategy's different. They take a little hiatus, get themselves re-grounded, and it looks a little different. And others, they're consistent across the board. So know who these people are and get educated about this market. They're not all the same.
Well, I think too, something to think about as well in the sense of, walking away and the whole thing, the culture fit stuff. So I had an employee one time in another business that I owned that he and I were really close. And even if you're friends with people that work for you, and I'm guilty of this even still a little bit, I'm more aware of it. You still have to draw that line of employer and employee, and you have to manage them, and you have to have the tough. And because me and this person were really close, we never really had a hard conversation. I would just let certain things go, right? Well, then the very first time we had to have a real hard conversation. It's important to note this was this person's very first job. The first time we had to have a hard conversation, he freaked out and quit. Didn't know how to, because we hadn't been there before. You know what I'm saying? We didn't have the little, hey, I don't like the way you did this. Hey, whatever. Not that you want to be nitpicky, and I think that it's a good translation into, so there was an agency I'm aware of that there was one employee there that was long time 30-year employee, right? Highest paid person in the company. And everybody to some degree has someone that's been with you forever that you let get away with stuff that you normally wouldn't let a newer tenured employee get away with, right?
Right.
And so this particular agency was purchased by a private equity group, and a year later they fired this person. And it was, I think, because the agency overpaid, the private equity group overpaid for it. The numbers were tight. We got to cut somebody loose. Oh, this person's given us a few issues because prior boss let them get away with murder.
Yep.
Highest paid person in the company, we're cutting you loose.
Yep.
And I would say to sellers, you have to manage your people the right way, because if you're not having those difficult conversations, the quarterly reviews, the performance bonuses, hey, you're not doing this right. Hey, yeah, I know we have SOPs and you do things your own way. You can't do it your own way anymore. When you sell and that private equity group comes in and they're just a name on a page or a number on a page, they're not going to care. And you are setting them up for failure.
Yeah.
It's kind of like my old thing that I've said is, if you have somebody that you need to fire, that you've given every opportunity to be successful and you've had the hard conversations, when you fire them, you are doing them a favor, because this is the last resort for you to change the way that you're doing things. Mm-hmm. And you're not doing things that are good for your career. It's kind of the same thing. So if you have that person in your company, just know that if you let them get away with it now, you are setting them up for extreme failure when you sell. And even in the case of your boy that we were talking about, that, oh yeah, I can say, well, this wouldn't happen if I was here, they're still probably going to look at you as the bad guy, because none of this would have happened if you hadn't sold the agency.
That's right.
Does that make sense?
100%. Yeah.
Carey, I want to end this podcast by pulling my britches down for all these agents. My job is to help insurance agents any way I can. I'm an open book. We've talked about me selling my agency. I got on a podcast with Bradley and Matt Namoli and started squalling and talking about how I was probably 5 years away from selling and blah, blah, blah. And then you and I start having this conversation. And I was glad that we had it, because it gave me kind of a North Star, right? It gave me this compass. Okay, we got to go in that direction, and we got to get to that right there. But the conversation that Carey and I had, guys, we got into this conversation, and I don't mind disclosing numbers in broad terms of what we were talking about. But you were like, Scott, look, you're at $12 million in annual direct written premium in your agency right now, today. And if you sold your agency today, you would make X number of dollars. It was millions. It was, I don't remember, Carey, 4, 5, 6 million, somewhere in that range.
Yep.
But we were talking like back of the cocktail napkin math, right? And when I had my aha moment was Carey in this same conversation goes, Scott, do you realize? And I'm only 53. I'm not like super old, but I'm not young either. Do you realize that if you can get this agency up to, I believe the number we used was $20 million in direct written premium, it almost doubled what my agency would sell for. Talk a little bit about
that. It puts you
that.
in another bracket.
Correct. It puts me in this next bracket. That's what I was kind of wanting her to talk about.
Yeah, so it's a couple of things, Scott. So there are plenty of people that are running their agency to grow, which means you might be overstaffed. You might have more infrastructure, but once you get your volume with where your infrastructure is, you're now growing profitably and at a volume that makes sense, that the value changes exponentially. You're not changing
Right.
one number, you're changing both numbers in the equation of what is your EBITDA or profitability, what is the multiple with the risk in order to get to the value. So what I was saying to you is your risk factors are okay, not great, but they're okay. But if we grew and you hit a different volume level and change that risk factor so you're more in line, it would actually be an exponential change in your agency. So you want to make sure you look at your numbers and project it out and find when's the right time. It's not, I'm just exacerbated by the market and therefore now's the right time. You have to understand what those numbers could do for you. And in your case, I mean, you've got an incredible production. You've got an incredible niche that you're growing. You don't want to do that in the middle of a high interest rate time frame. That would be the wrong time for you to do that because it impacts your niche pretty significantly, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you had some extra team members, but now if your volume gets there, you would be able to be much more profitable because you're actually staffed for growth. So we have to grow into it, not sell in the middle of it. Like you're in your trajectory. So not all things are created equal, and where you are in your life cycle matters. And I would also say for many agents, they need to contemplate. We all think about buying low and selling high, and we're not emotional about it when it's a stock or it's a house or it's a whatever. We're very emotional about it when it's our agency.
Or
and
baby.
We have a tendency to not take a step back and think about it. Am I buying low and selling high, or am I selling low right now? And there's some people that stay past when they should or sell on the way up and don't think about finding the high. So that's really what our conversation was about.
Right.
Carey, what do you say to people that say that EBITDA doesn't matter if you have no intention of selling?
Yeah, that drives me nuts, Bradley. It truly does. And what I would say to them is it matters because you have to know what it is to make an informed decision about your agency. And it's okay that you're not selling, but knowing what it is and what it can be puts you in the driver's seat to start making decisions about your agency.
Yeah.
I think one of the worst things an agency owner can do is not do the math to figure out what their true EBITDA is. And I mean like the real math.
Yeah.
What's discretionary? What are things like if you have a Lamborghini on your P&L, like take that Lamborghini off, right? Like because it wouldn't stay with your agency when you left. But knowing what that number is gives you how can you reinvest to drive growth and know the true profitability, because if you don't do the math, then you're kind of flying blind. And it's my job to do the math for you.
I'll tell you how I think about it. So things that people say give you an indication of what's under the hood.
Yeah.
Okay. So if somebody, like, let's say somebody came to your house for dinner, right? And they said, credit score is a farce. It's not important. It doesn't mean anything. I'm immediately going to think this person has shitty credit.
Exactly.
So when somebody says EBITDA doesn't matter, EBITDA is not important, I'm like, that's either not a profitable agency or it's not well run, and they are saying this so that they feel better that their finances look like a war-torn land.
Yep. Or
That's
they've gotten really bad advice too. Like
Yeah,
that's the
yeah.
other thing. But yes, my immediate gut would be, oh, they're not very profitable because they're
Yeah.
discounting with the value of that. Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Carey Wallace, I got to shut this thing down. We're going to have to move on down the road. So when we finish this podcast, Rand, tell me when you stop recording. Bradley's got to take me over to the Lamborghini dealership here in Mobile. Carey, I'm going to send you that receipt this afternoon.
Scott, we don't even have an Equinox gym here. Do you think we have a Lamborghini dealership?
It's only going to be $285,000. Just say it fast. It doesn't sound like much. We'll amateurize that over how long, Bradley? Do you think I can get that off on my tax?
I'll tell you a funny story. This was about 15 years ago when I was at Alpha. I had a health scare at the doctor's office. I won't go into what it was. It ended up not being a big deal, but I had a health scare at the doctor's office, at the hospital, and they discharged me, and I drove straight to the Range Rover dealership.
Damn.
Thank God they were closed.
Damn.
Because I was like, if I'm going out, and I didn't find out till the next day that everything was okay. If I'm going out swinging. Like, I'm going to buy me a Range Rover, 18% interest, finance with Santander.
Hell
do
yeah.
not care. I can't take it with me. Let's
Hell
roll.
yeah.
Yeah.
Let's do that.
Yeah.
Hey, guys, do me a favor. Listen to, for once in your life, listen to Uncle Scott. I know y'all are all smarter than I am, and you've done more than I have, and you're just better people than I am. And I understand that. I get all that. But if there's never anything that you listen to Uncle Scott, insurance agents from all across the world, before you buy Cousin Ricky's insurance agency, or your mama's, or your daddy's, or your best friend from high school who's, built a nice size agency, but they've always wanted to be in the drywall business, and they just want to get out and go be in the drywall business because they've got a Hilton Garden Inn that Travelers Insurance is paying to.
I bet that's who the insurance
Travelers Insurance is paying to re-drywall the entire inside of the Hilton Garden Inn in Mobile, Alabama, and they got the contract on that, and it's a multi-million-dollar deal, and they're going to go do that. Please, for the love of all that is holy, Mary, Joseph, and baby Jesus laying in his manger, call Carey Wallace before you ink the contract to buy that, and you overpay, and you're eating ramen noodles, and you're driving a 1987 Toyota Corolla, buying your groceries down at the Dollar General, and you can't even afford Netflix every month because all the money's going to Cousin Ricky. You can't hire anybody, so you can't grow. You're miserable. They're miserable. Well, they're not miserable because Cousin Ricky got the big check and he moved out of the mobile home and he's now living up on the hill in the big mansion. But you are stealing cable from the apartment complex because you can't even afford the damn DirecTV bill. Call Carey Wallace for the love of God, please. This is the last time I'm going to say it. If you don't, then don't call Scott asking him 485 questions about why you can't grow and we ain't got no money and I don't know what to do. Because sometimes in life, folks, decisions have consequences. And there are sometimes things I can't help you with if you've already entered into a contract with somebody. The toothpaste is out of the tube, and there's no way for me to put it back in, Carey.
Yeah.
I can't. I mean, you can, but
yeah.
When you go to Cousin Ricky, who you own or financed a $3 million agency, and he's making all the money, and you say, "Hey, Cousin Ricky, you know that $14,000 a month I'm paying you? I need to get that down to about $6,000. y'all gonna end up in a courtroom somewhere is where you're gonna end up.
It's going to make Thanksgiving really tough in that.
Yeah, Cousin Ricky, the turkey ain't gonna quite taste as good over at Cousin Ricky's brand new 5,400 square foot mansion on the hill.
Well, it goes back to the emotion thing. You know, when you're emotionally, and there's emotions on both sides, like the seller's excited, the buyer's excited. You need that second set of eyes that can look at things objectively and say, no, this is not a good deal. Or yes,
You're about to be eating ramen noodles.
Yeah.
Carey, use that as much as you'd like when you
I
talk
will,
to somebody.
yeah.
As Scott Howell, as the infamous Scott Howell would say, son, you're about to be eating ramen noodles for about 5 years. You want to eat ramen noodles every night?
Beans and rice, rice and beans.
That's it. Guys, you were listening to the Insurance Guys podcast. And as I end every episode, rewards come from action, not discussion. Get your ass out from behind that desk today. Go out into the big bad world. Become the mayor of your village. Fight like hell. Go make money for your family. And as the famous Carey Wallace always says, bring more revenue in than you do expenses. And go make money for your family, for your wife, for your husband, for your kids' college fund, for your parents and your in-laws out there that are struggling like mine do. Go make money for them. Write good business for the agencies that you represent, and write good business for the carriers that you represent. Bradley Flowers, I love you.
Thanks, man. Thanks, Carey.
Carey, I love you too,
Love
sweet
you
girl.
guys.
All right, y'all have a great day. Tell the family we said hello.
I sure will.
All right. Guys, you were listening to the Insurance Guys podcast, and we love each one of you. Thank you so much for being a part of our family, and we'll see you back here real soon. Take care.